When should you absolutely terminate a patient? Most of us who work at the front know that some patients really don't need to be in our practice. We all have opinions on this, right? They don't deserve to be there, and they really just don't do any good. They don't bring any new patients. They're terrible, hard to handle, all of that. They miss appointments, they don't pay their bills, and so on. A lot of times, the doctors are not the ones who see the bad side of the patient. It makes that even harder for them to understand that we do need to get rid of patients. And it's hard for them to accept because in their eyes, once a patient is always a patient. But from an administrative point of view, the patient, it is the lifeblood of the practice. When you're a business owner, it really bothers you, or a business leader, really bothers you to lose one of those vital drops of lifeblood. I get it. It's like the worst breakup imaginable with no hope of reconciliation. So I totally understand. When should you absolutely terminate a patient, however? First of all, if a patient is unnecessarily rude to my staff, the doctor, anyone in the practice, or even another patient, that's happened, being out in the waiting room, sometimes some conversations happen. And when I say rude, I'm not talking about the fact that they didn't hold the door or maybe they accidentally bumped into someone on the way out. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, they were beyond embarrassing. They attacked maybe you, they attacked one of your coworkers, they made your team members feel really small. This is something that we have to pay attention to as owners and managers. When a patient is unnecessarily rude to your employees, that puts us in a position to understand that we have to take care of our employees, right? You have this situation happening. We as business owners have to respond to that. One of the responsibilities of the job is that we have people under us and we're responsible for their safety and for providing a safe workplace. When you have a patient who is very rude and even borderline violent, you have a duty to protect your employees from that patient. If a patient becomes violent, that's a situation where I don't even think twice about this. Not only am I scared, but I'm not going to think twice about terminating them because I need to protect my practice, right? In cases of any expressed violence, like say they make a threat to you, you do need to call the authorities as there could be potential assault charges involved. If anything happens to your employee afterwards, there might be issues if you did not step up to protect them. It is, remember, your responsibility to provide a safe working environment as a business owner. Now, I'm not an HR expert, so I'm not going to delve too much into that, but you can go back to previous podcast episodes where we talked to Dwayne Tinker about workplace violence and how to handle that. And I also know from my experience with HR companies that these are serious issues we face. It's something that nobody told me about that can happen when we're not paying attention. Patients are usually not happy when we give them unexpected balances or when they're in pain. This actually is very common. Something else that arises is patients who actually make us very uncomfortable. Perhaps you have a patient who has flirted with you or a team member and just has that creepy vibe. Most of us women understand this, and probably even some of your men, right? We don't want to be alone with this person. When your employees express this type of discomfort when they're treating a patient, you have to listen to that. You yourself probably don't want to work on someone you felt uncomfortable with, so I get that. And we know some of our patients are just not pleasant to be around. And if this discomfort affects the employee's ability to perform their job, well, we need to pay attention. Instead of being open and accommodating to the patient, I think sometimes we have to flip that around, right? We sometimes must open our arms to our employees and prioritize their well-being. As somebody who has been on the other side of that, I remember having my doctor stand up for me and making sure that we didn't see that patient again. Or remember, there was one patient for our hygienist that we actually never scheduled on the days when she was working. The patient was not someone we wanted to let go as a long-term patient, but we definitely wanted to make sure that that employee never had any conversations with them. So those are the main reasons I would immediately terminate a patient without hesitation. Would you like to hear more? Follow the link for the full episode.